Welcome to the Honest Health Podcast with your host, Jeffrey Burke. Honest Health brings you the brightest minds in the natural products industry, as well as athletes and entertainers. Jeff will keep you entertained and informed while educating on how to be successful on your healthy journeys. Now, here's your host, Jeffrey Burke.
Hello and welcome back to the Honest Health Podcast. My name is Jeffrey Burke and I'm so glad you're here again. Hey, if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome to the platform. A lot of you have been following my radio shows for many decades. And as I ended that show in 2023, my new podcast started launching last year in 2024. And here we are in a brand new year, 2025. So I hope it's going to be a good one for you. I promise to keep you engaged, bringing you the best of the best in our industry, but also bringing you professional athletes and people in the know, because we all want to know our favorite people, their backstory. We don't want to talk about the things that are in the news. We want to talk about the things behind the curtain, things that make them tick, things that keep them healthy and strong. And I want to know what, kind of keeps everybody going in the right direction. Help me welcome my guest today, Micah Corrigan. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm so happy to have you here today. This is going to be really exciting because this is kind of a twofold show. Number one, it's going to be a great interview. But number two, his stores are my retailer of the month for January of 2025. And they do a lot of really amazing things at their store. And the whole idea, we were talking about this before we started here, about having shows that are geared toward calling out retailers. Because I think somewhere along the line, our brick and mortars and our small independent health food stores and small chains have kind of gotten lost in the mix of the gigantic conglomerates that are out there. And everybody has their place, which is great. But I want to make sure that the stores that were here to help us build this industry are called out and recognized. So we're going to do that today. We're going to start off the year with the Be Alive stores. Micah is a second-generation store owner who grew up in the health food industry. In 2015, he began working full-time in the business and took on a management position. In 2017, he led the expansion of their second brick-and-mortar location, and in 2018, their third location. In 2020, he founded the premium electrolyte brand Great Naturally, and in 2022, helped co-found the frictionless coupon platform Save Naturally. In 2023, he became a board member for the Positively Natural Show and joined SEMTA. 2024, Great Naturally won Vitamin Retailer's Best New Product Award. How great is that? He has an amazing, extreme passion for the natural products industry, always looking for ways to help independent retailers and independent brands succeed. So we're going to get started today. What a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeff. And Jeff, I just want to say you're a legend in the industry. So it really means a lot, having me on here. So thank you so much.
Well, I thank you. And I think it's important that we, like I mentioned before, we recognize the stores that are, going the extra mile. And, we have a lot of new people coming in. I've also talked to people as I travel all over the country, and they're like, we've kind of been treading water for a while. We're trying to think of new ideas that might bring a little bit of life back in here again. So the nice thing is ideas can be shared. And what's really nice is when you have a retailer that is doing some things that may be a little bit different, you have people that are like, wow, what a great idea. So let me ask you, what's changed in our industry from your vocal and your eye look? What do you think has changed that you've noticed, let's say over the last 5 years?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, in my opinion, really the change started to happen very quickly back in 2017. That's really when we started to see customers coming in with their phone and saying, I can get this on Amazon 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% cheaper. And even before 2017, it was like always on our radar, but it was like, oh, we're not going to worry about that. But I believe in 2017, there was that, it just kind of drastically changed. It was like the last straw. Everyone started coming in. And that really, that started a process in our stores where we really had to look and, figure out, okay, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? How can we like survive this storm in the next like 5, 10, 15, 20 years? And so, we really had to double down, and we created this, goal of like, getting partner brands. And so, we and this was the start of MAP. And also shout out to Chase Ballard, because I really believe that he was the one that kind of helped, kind of get MAP to this, popularity. So definitely recommend having him on the show. But in 2017, I also read it was Nutrition World in Chattanooga, Tennessee, who I always look up to, and they had an article in, I think it was like Vitamin Retailer, and they were talking about MAP and how important MAP was. And it was sort of a breath of fresh air, because I thought I was the only one talking about it. And to have another retailer also talk about it, I said, okay, there has to be some common themes here. Like, this is what we're going to do. And so without regulation or whatever, the market self-regulated itself. And slowly over time, brands started to have MAP policies and enforce MAP policies. I mean, that was a beautiful thing to see. And there's still like a couple of brands out there that really don't believe in MAP. And I don't see how that's going to work for them in the future, but that's a different topic. But MAP was very, very important for us, and it's like the first question that we asked at a store is like, what is your MAP policy? Do you enforce the MAP? So that kind of forced us to sort of discontinue certain brands, bring in a bunch of new brands. In 2020, here's another topic too. In 2020, we would place orders, but then, let's just say we placed an order for it was 10 pages of invoices, and then 7 pages were out of stocks.
Yeah.
And, right. I mean, those dark times.
Very.
But then we would see a lot of those products at Target or Walmart or whatever. And so, I get it. Business is business, but we also had to be honest with ourselves, and we had to figure out, okay, what brands want to partner with us, what brands want to partner with the independent retailer. And it's not a good or a bad thing. Business is business. I get it. But we just had to, watch out for our bottom line too. And we thought, okay, well, we can't keep reserving these empty shelves for this brand. We have to replace it. It is what it is. And then, as certain brands get bought out and we start seeing the quality change, we also had to, convey that to our customers. It's like, it's nothing. We just have these different standards. And so we just brought in the substitute product. And many of our customers, we have such a good reputation in our community for trying to provide the best product that really customers, listen to us and like, oh, okay, like I didn't know that. A lot of consumers don't know who owns these brands and what's going on in the industry. And that's really, one of the benefits of having a local community health food store is that local store should be the focal point. That is where, there's so much information online, right? There's an abundance of information. And so, we, like all health food stores in our industry, like we have to have, the responsibility of trying to find the best products, the best value for our consumers, not bringing in junk products. There's tons of junk products out there. And so when, we're confined by our square footage. So why do we carry the products that we carry is an important question to answer. Why? Out of all these, hundreds of thousands of vitamin C's, why do you carry these? Why are they so important to you? And that's the story that we're trying to convey to our customers. Like, yeah, we could bring in everything, but we choose not to. I mean, back in the CBD days, we were approached like every week. Like, can you bring in my CBD? If we said yes to every CBD company, we'd have 5 aisles.
I remember those times. It came in like a wrecking ball. I remember.
Yeah. So I have this saying in our stores, we're looking for unique, boutique, and therapeutic. So unique meaning that it has to offer something new to the shelf space, right? My manager told me she'll kill me if I bring in another magnesium. But the point is that, you don't need 100 varieties of the same, mag glycinate, or, you know what I mean? You don't need to have so many. So it has to bring something new. It has to be something unique. Boutique meaning we're not looking for a product that is seen in every single channel. So a lot of brands, they want to say, oh, I'm omni-channel. I'm in every channel, which is great for the brand. I'm not going to lie. It's 100% great for the brand. It's not so great. I mean, there's nuance here, right? So you want to have a brand that has mass recognition. You can count that as like your anchor brand, right? But you really have to start focusing on who you want to promote, what brands you want to promote. You have to plant the seeds and then develop that, educate that, grow that, and that's going to be a brand that you can grow in the next like 5 or 10 years. But if every brand in your store is quote unquote like an anchor brand or a brand that's in many food truck mass markets, something like that, you lose that boutiquiness, you lose that speciality. And then a customer, when they shop at a food truck mass store, they're like, oh, it's the same products that, the local health food store shops. I can save a trip. I don't need to go there anymore. I can just buy everything in this, mass market shelf here. This is great. And slowly you start losing, customers, bleeding them out like that. So that's something that we try to avoid. And again, I get it. Have an anchor brand, have a couple anchor brands, nothing wrong with that. You want to have the foot traffic coming in, but then at the same time, have the partner brands eye level and start promoting those brands, start talking about those brands, and slowly transition those customers from, that anchor, mass market brand to a partner brand. So that's been our strategy. And then the third part is therapeutic. When you sell a customer, or when you have a product that provides a therapeutic dose to a customer and they really feel the difference,
Yep.
they're going to come back.
Yep.
100%. And you're going to garner more trust because that product that you sold them, that you provided to them, is actually making a difference. They can actually feel a difference. You're changing people's lives. And that is so important. So when you bring in a brand, right, and it's a cheap brand, it's I get it, gummy, whatever, right? Like that has its own space in the market. Really, you should be promoting therapeutic, high dosed formulas that can really make a difference to a consumer, because then they're going to come back and like, oh, you really helped me out. So those would be like our three kind of themes: unique, boutique, and therapeutic, that we really try to promote at our stores.
Well, it's commendable. It really, really is. And, the thing about the mom and pop brick and mortar stores is the relationships, which you alluded to. People come in, there's a trust factor there. They know they can have individual conversations that are geared toward them individually on what they're going through. It's not like talking to somebody that has absolutely no idea what they even have on the shelves, and the uniqueness, celebrating the uniqueness of your stores. People are there and they're like, I've never seen this anywhere else before. Yeah, I know. We go out on a limb with things that are quality based. And I think that that's really, really commendable, because these are tools. And I think we might have gotten away from those because I think popularity of those strategic brands sometimes leads people down, turning themselves into more of a warehousing situation, rather more than the uniqueness or the boutique. I love that word, because it means unique, but it also means, accommodating to some of the main things that are going on out there, but in a different way, from a different angle. Very unique products, and I think that's wonderful. But those relationships are so important. People will bring people. You've seen it. They bring their friends and their family, and they bring them in. They introduce them. They say, you can get amazing information from these people here, and they really, really care. There's nothing better than that. I mean, that's something I've always celebrated. And, 4.5 decades of being in stores, I've seen this, and I saw it kind of get away from it. But I think after the pandemic, I think a lot of people have really wanted that open conversation and trust angle again, and they're starting to come back because they know they need more information, because I think a lot of us were caught with our pants down, if you will, during the pandemic. And I think a lot of people were not ready. They may have thought they were, they had a lot to learn, and now they want to continue learning because nobody wants to go through that craziness again.
Yeah. And going back to the relationships too, it's like I believe that consumers want to have a specialty experience, right?
Uh-huh.
Like I get, like you mentioned, the warehouse model. I don't think that warehouse model is going to be around in the future much, because Amazon is going to be, they already have 2-day delivery. They're going to do 1-day delivery. They're doing 2-hour delivery. Drones will come soon. I mean, the idea of Amazon is that you think about it and then it'll be there. So the distribution you can't win against Amazon. You can't like if you're a store and then you're competing against Amazon, Amazon is going to try to make it more and more and more convenient to distribute those products to those consumers. So, so our philosophy is obviously price. So price, like we sell everything at MAP, like at the bare bone minimum, we need to have the same price. Like if Amazon is selling it at $10 MAP, we're selling it at $10 MAP. Like we have to have that. But yeah, like you're never going to win the distribution because from a consumer's perspective, if you don't have the relationship and you don't have any other incentives to get them to come in, they're going to be looking at their phone. They're going to be looking at your store's website. They know that both of them are $10. But now, right, 2 years ago, it's like, well, now the consumer's like, oh, I can get it in 2 days. And then it's like, oh, I can get it in 1 day. And then, oh, I can get it in 1 hour delivery. Or, oh, I can get it in a 30-minute drone delivery. Like it's going to be, and so now you have all this friction, right? Like the consumer, they have to leave their house. They have to put on pants, right? They have to get into their car. They have to use gas money, drive to the health food store. They have to find the product. Maybe it's out of stock. Then they have to wait in line to check out. Then they have to like get back in their car, use more gas money, there's a lot of like friction. So you have to incentivize the consumer in other ways. But at the base minimum, you need to have MAP. You need to have the same prices as Amazon. But then, like you alluded to, is the relationship. You have to give them education as well. You have to give them a unique boutique experience for them to come into your store and learn something. But and we could talk about rewards program. Like we have a rewards program which I think would be very helpful for many stores to bring in. We use our rewards program. Consumers accrue their dollars and then they have to come back into the store and use those and redeem those dollars for future purchases. But it kind of keeps the consumer within our ecosystem. So a rewards program would be very beneficial as well. Those would be a couple of the main things that we really focus on.
Where did the name Be Alive come from?
My dad was driving in the car and he's just driving and he's like, man, I want people to just feel alive, to be alive. And that's where it came from.
That's so funny. Sometimes some of the best ideas are the simplest sources where they came from.
Yeah, he kept saying that. He's like, that's it.
I love it. How hard is it to find employees today? I'm old. I've been around a long time. We've talked about this. And when we used to apply back in Los Angeles when I started with a company called Great Earth Vitamins, and it was many years ago with Dr. Earl Mendel and had about 180 stores. It was a time when there was Great Earth and GNC. There was like nothing else. So we used to hold job fairs. And you'd have like 4 sales positions open and you would advertise in the LA Times and you would see 1,000 people show up for these jobs. And it was like 4 days of interviewing. And today, I don't know, maybe I'm seeing it wrong, but it just seems like it's the passion that a lot of us have for this industry. I don't know if it's still there. Every once in a while, I'll meet somebody in a store and they're just starting and I see that look in their eyes and they've got that, I love this. I love learning about this and talking to people and I just want to clone that. But I don't know. Is it hard to find employees with the kind of passion that we have?
I'll say a nuanced answer. I think that they are out there. But I really believe that people are looking for meaningful work. And so if you can provide that at the business, at the store, and you can show them, that this is more than just a job, you're actually affecting the community and impacting the community. I think that's like what people want. Obviously, there's, the salary, the base salary. But beyond that, people want something meaningful, and also they want to work with other people that have other good people. I think that's the other important aspect of it. So I think they're out there. I think the whole market has just kind of like shifted after COVID and this and that. But yeah, for us, Yeah, I mean, sure, it's a little bit more difficult than it was before, but when you find those good people, you really want to hold on to them and do whatever you can to keep them. And that's the most important thing.
And that's the job of the store owners and the management to be able to
Yeah.
provide and be, inclusive and, and
Mhm.
supportive and
Yeah.
engaging and make the work environment a really good place. As I travel around the country, it's always fun when I go somewhere and I'm sitting down with 5 or 6 people and they've got 20 years, 22 years, 25 years, 28 years. And I'm thinking to myself, yep, they're still out there. There's a lot of us out
Yeah.
there. I love that.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, the whole health industry, I mean, it's like booming, I mean, this whole industry is going up.
Agreed.
People are more and more interested than they ever were before. Um, I mean, this is kind of the point that I wanted to mention earlier, but I just forgot. But there's so much information out there.
Yes.
I mean, anyone can just say something and be on the internet and just say words, and a lot of people will believe it, right? There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of good information out there. But I think overall it's a good thing. I mean, it's making people more and more aware of their health. I think COVID, like you said, was a wake-up call as well. People are like, oh, I really should take care of my body. I really should take care of my health. And so I think we're seeing a boom in the industry. I think more and more people are interested. And also, I think there's this sort of like online fatigue. People are kind of getting fatigued in always shopping online.
Yeah.
They're seeing all these like online print articles. I think there's sort of like a counter revolution happening too. Like people always want to fight against the grain, right? And so the grain is like online shopping, online this, online that, and it's not special anymore. Like people want to have that specialty experience. They want to have the in print, the magazine feel, like a hard cover book. People want to read that. I think there's going to be like a counter revolution happening, going back to going back into stores and talking to people face to face, and having something physical. So I think that's around the corner. I really do.
To me, it's interesting that the industry has changed so dramatically. And you mentioned, you alluded to the point of information. My first 20 some years of my radio show, I had to go to the library. There was about a dozen authors that were respected in the industry. There was no Google, there was no search engine, no computers, no smartphones, no nothing. So I had to go to the library every day and I had to get research books that you couldn't check out. And if you got there too late, someone else was already using them. So I had to go there to get anything I could possibly utilize to do my radio shows. For some 20 some odd years, that's the way we did it. And now if you're the only one that thinks some way and everybody else says you're wrong and everybody else is right, but you definitely can find somebody on the internet to agree with you. And but information, it's kind of a double-edged sword today. You get a lot of information on the internet, and thank goodness for it. I use it a lot. But most of the time people will admit in health food stores about having to re-educate the education people have picked up, because I'll literally say, where did you hear that? And they'll say, well, I read it on the internet. And I'm like, okay, we need to talk, because it's so off base and so incorrect. But, I think people are starving for information, once again, to your point, which is a great point. And I think sometimes they'll grab onto anything because they didn't have anything before that. So I'm going to run with this information, knowing that it might not be right. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's another point that I forgot to mention, why health food stores are important. But you hit it on the head right there. People are so overwhelmed with information. Like you said before, like you find one nuanced point and there's a whole tribe of people that are latched onto that. And you say another nuanced point, there's a whole tribe of people. Yeah. So you kind of go into this echo chamber of like, what do you want to believe? Like, what do you want to hear? Right. And the algorithms will feed that to you. But health food stores, I mean, we have to like be on that front line. We have to start sifting through all of the BS. We have to sift through all the good information. We have to do our due diligence, research the brands that we're bringing in, research the products that we're bringing in. And we have to be that resource and educational like focal point, that front line, so consumers can say, hey, I've heard so much, can you help me out, can you help me navigate through this all? I mean, if we lose health food stores, we lose that conversation. We lose health food stores, then it's just a bunch of influencers online talking about their own perspective, and there's no sort of like grounding level anymore.
And there's no accountability.
There's no accountability either,
which is important.
Yeah. And so, yeah, like, why do we carry these products? Why do we carry these brands? Why is this important? And also keeping up with the trends too, like keeping up with the new ingredients. I mean, that is super. I think the consumer that is going into a health food store, they, again, like I said, they want that specialty experience, but they want to know what's new. They want to know the cutting edge. They want to know that. If they just wanted a mass market product that everyone else is buying, they'll go to a mass market retailer and just buy something off the shelf and like, oh, I don't care what I'm buying. I don't care, right? That's a different consumer. We should not be going after that consumer. That's like, it starts out in the health food store, and then 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, it ends up on like the mass market shelf, right? Which is great. But there's so much new information and new research coming out that health food stores have to do their due diligence and provide that service or provide that as a service to consumers. And I think that is what's very attractive to keep people coming into the health food store.
Well, I've been in education for decades, and it's always been really important for me to have people that are engaged and they're educated. And, what's interesting is our industry has changed in quite a different way, a lot of different ways, where there's a lot of companies that don't focus on education anymore. And it's disheartening to me. And I saw the visibility of this at a store. I was on the East Coast, and I went to the store and I was doing a training. When I got done, I was standing there, and the young lady behind the counter, a customer came up. She said, could you recommend a fish oil to me? Now, she turned around, and in back of the counter, there was a lot of shelves, and there was like 6 or 7 different fish oils all lined up there. And I knew them all because I've done radio shows with every one of them. So they're all good brands. So she said, would you pick one? And I saw the girl, and she kind of had her finger, and she went across, and then she went back, and she went back, and she grabbed a bottle of Nordic. Now, Nordic Ultimate Omega, that's what I use. So she sets it down. The lady says, thank you. She purchased it, and she leaves. And I said, can I ask you a question? She said, sure. And I said, why did you pick the Nordic product? And she said, that's the only company that ever did a training with us. And I thought to myself, there it is.
There you go.
There it is. That's how important it is. And, stores like yours and stores that stand out as retailers that are making a difference are stores that also pride themselves on keeping everybody up to date and engaged and educated. And, when things are offered to them and companies want to come and do a training, come on down. I talk to people all the time, and they'll say, we haven't had a training in this store in 3 years. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding. And they're like, no. So I'll make an arrangement and I'll show up, and they're like, yeah, come on, spend the day, spend the week. We don't get anybody here. And, I just think that it's really important, and I think we need to get back to it.
Yeah, 100. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think a lot of the, like a lot of newer brands that are coming out, right? I mean, there's financial restrictions, right?
Yes.
You can't fly everyone around and do that. I totally get that. But we can do like Zoom and Teams trainings. There's phone calls, like anything that's possible. I mean, even in our stores, like I know some other retailers have other policies, but if sales rep wants to come to our store and do, aisle trainings any day, sure, let's do it. Go ahead. There's no restrictions. If you want to talk to our employees and call them and be on the phone and do an aisle training and whatnot, 100%, because the education is one of the most important things, if not the most important things. After that, you have to have like good pricing for products, but you have to have the education. Yeah. So, I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. And I think a lot of the bigger brands though, too, like they're seeing, I think they're seeing the ROI, right? They're a lot of, you can't blame them, right? They want to grow. They have also financial restrictions. They're trying to invest in like other markets as well, that don't require that education, where consumers in those markets don't want that education or don't require that information, or like they're not looking for it. And so I think in the health food stores, we have a different customer base. We have a different target market. Those customers want to be educated. 100%. And so as a store owner, as a health food store, you have to find those brands that want to do those educations, that still believe that that's important.
Well, and I started incorporating some things a couple years ago, when Zoom started to, I mean, I didn't know what the heck a Zoom was until the pandemic. And all of a sudden I'm doing Zooms and I've got so many people and I look like American Idol on my screen. It was crazy. So I decided that in this year, what I'm going to do is every quarter, I'm going to make available nationwide Zoom trainings.
Mhm.
And I'm going to make them available to any health food store anywhere that wants to come on and wants to sign on and get a good education, at no cost to anybody. And then I'm also going to have like 1 or 2 days a month or a quarter where the retail stores can tell their customers to go on for a training as well. And all they have to do, we'll send them a link. They can log on. This is a great way of just touching a lot of people in a
Mhm.
no cost way that people could
Mhm.
benefit from, and then go back to their prospective stores, which I think is really, really important. And I just think that it's important to be able to have the availability of learning and knowledge and learning the right way and having the right information. Because if you're dealing with a health condition, one thing you don't want is bad, incorrect information, especially if
Mhm.
there's time issues concerned, because there's nothing worse than finding out that you listened to something, read something, or followed something that absolutely was incorrect, and you never took the time to really do your homework. You could have missed a lot of really valuable time where you could have been making a difference on your health. So I want good. That's why I named this Honest Health.
Mhm.
I'll give you a funny story. You'll love this. I was driving through Oklahoma and I was in the middle of nowhere. And I looked down on my gauge and I was like out of gas. So I pulled into this small little town. There was like 8 buildings there. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. So I pulled in and the gas station was called Gas. So I pulled in and I put just a little bit in because it smelled like kerosene. And I was kind of like, don't know about this. So I went ahead and I put it in and I paid the guy and I left. And then I was leaving. There was a restaurant across the parking lot. It was called Food. So I went in there and I had lunch, and it was like a scene from one of those movies where you kind of walk in and everybody stops eating and looks at you, and then they turned around and ate. Well, the food was really good. So I had the food and I leave and I'm checking out, and across the street, I could see there was a little health food store and it was called Health Food Store. So I went in there and I started talking to these two little ladies, and I guess people came to see them from little towns all over the place. And we started talking, and I said, "Do you guys ever get reps coming out here?" And they're like, "No, never." And I said, "Have you ever had any educations?" And they're like, "No." And I said, "What about podcasts?" They go, "We like podcasts." I'm thinking, okay, well, they're up to date there because I saw the fax machine on the counter. And I'm kind of like, okay. So I said, "Would you listen to a podcast?" And they said, "Yeah, as long as it was someplace and something that was honest information." That's where Honest Health came from, the
Wow.
name of my podcast. So I drove away from there and then I went into the next big city and got gas that I knew was familiar. So, but like I said, it doesn't matter where you are. People are still looking for good, honest information. And if you see my list of people that I have on here, I've got really great, credible guests and people like yourself that are sharing a message and taking care of their customers and doing something in a way that really makes a difference because it's important to you.
Mhm.
And to me, that's where it's all at.
Yes. Yes. You have to plant your flag,
Yes.
and the tribe will follow. Like, you have to stand up for what you believe in. And yeah, of course, like, you're gonna repel certain people. You're gonna attract other people, though. And you just have to be true to yourself. You have to be authentic, and you have to be original. And that's what you should strive for. And I think that's what it's 100% what you're doing. And that's what we always try to do at our stores too, is we try to be authentic, original, and do what we believe in. And yeah, like you said, yeah, some customers are going to come and like, oh, this is not for me. I'm going to go to the mass market store. It's like,
Yep.
that's fine. That's okay. But that's not what we believe in.
Talk a little bit about why you got involved in SEPTA.
Oh, yeah. So that's the emerging leaders. That's the emerging leaders part of it. No, they were looking for. I was doing a talk at the Positively Natural show, and they thought, oh, I think you'd be a great contender for this emerging leaders program that we are starting to build, and anything that promotes the industry, anything that is going to help independents anything that's going to help independent brands, I'm interested in. And that's just what I find interesting. And so, yeah, if I can help out in any way, it's a yes for me. So
I love it. And not that you don't have enough on your plate now, but you also came out with some products on your own.
right.
Tell me about it. I want to hear. Let's mercifully let's just give it a good plug.
Sure. So yeah, the brand is Great Naturally, and I noticed this a while ago. Like, this isn't back in 2017, 2018, 2019. I founded the company in 2020, but we were always starting to hear the same kind of message. Customers were coming in saying, hey, my doctor told me that I need to take more potassium. And, we said, oh, that's great. We have these 99 milligram tablets on the shelf. And they're like, oh, we need a lot more. To get the RDA for the potassium for those 99 milligram tablets, you need about 47 of those pills, which, people just don't want to do. It's just like unreasonable. And so then the second thing that happened was like, okay, well, there has to be like other potassium products out there. So I looked at the market, and everything that I saw was low potency. Right. They're like, just a little sprinkle of potassium here and there. And I thought, man, like, where are all the high potency potassium products? And then I kept looking, and, we see high potassium brands out there. Some of them, have giant displays at Costco, but those are very high in sugar and very high in sodium, which is also something that our customers were not asking for. They're not coming in saying, I need more sugar. Can you help me with that? Or I need more sodium.
Yes.
No one, I mean, like, unless you're like the average person is not hearing from their doctor, you need to increase your sodium levels. They're hearing the exact opposite, decrease your sodium levels. So really, as a buyer, I mean, the story is pretty simple. I tried to buy this product for my customers because that's what they were asking for, and I could not. And so then I was like, okay, maybe I have to like make this product. And that's kind of how it started in 2020. Just, manufacturing this product. And then this was a whole new experience for me, is the product manufacturing side. I've learned a ton. And over the course of, 1 year, it became our 4th best-selling product. So, a couple of shameless plugs here. And this is not only in our stores. Like, we were pretty friendly with a couple of other stores in the area, and we're like, hey, can you try this out? Let's see if this works. The number 1 best-selling product was still Garden of Life Women's Probiotic. The number 2 bestseller was still Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen. The number 3 bestseller was still Terry Naturally Curemin. And then Great Naturally became the number 4th bestseller. And then after that happened, I was like, oh, I think we're onto something. I think it's not just my customers that are looking for this. I think there's a wider market for this. And then we started selling it into other stores, and, getting brokers on board. And it's just been, like an amazing process. And then in 2024, Vitamin Retailer named us the, best new products of the year. And I mean, that's just, I wasn't expecting that. That's just amazing. To get that recognition.
Show me. You got a picture? You got a bottle?
Yeah.
Show me. Bring it up here.
So this is our best-selling one. We have Great Naturally, Real Electrolytes,
Nice.
Hydration Plus.
Powder form,
and then
powder
form. Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's 800 milligrams of potassium citrate and then 200 milligrams of sodium coming from Himalayan pink salt. We have 3 flavors: watermelon, strawberry lemonade, lemon lime. And then we have a focus product, which we're using a clinical dose of citicoline, then a little bit of caffeine, and then our Relax products has a clinical dose of glycine,
Nice.
as well as some like lemon balm and L-theanine. And the whole idea behind Great Naturally is to provide that therapeutic dose. I mean, 2 of our sales pitches is right on the front of every single bottle: real food, high potency. That's what people are looking for. I mean, like, people are like, can you distill the pitch down into like, well, you got you got 4 words right here. That's part of the, I mean, that's like half of them. But yeah, I mean, like, no junk, no artificial flavoring. It's less than 1 gram of sugar. Those are just the naturally occurring sugars found in the food powders. And then really the formula. The formula is, and this is why people are having such a good experience, is most people are deficient in potassium. 98% of Americans are not getting enough potassium. Of that 2% that are, less than 0.1% of Americans are consuming the correct ratio between sodium and potassium. And that's what's important. So this product is coming to the table, understanding and knowing that you're deficient in potassium. You already have a hole in potassium.
Yep.
And so what we're doing is we're giving you just enough to get even with sodium, but we're going to give you a little bit more so that after digestion, you're at a 2-to-1 ratio. But the formula in and of itself, right, when you take it, is a 4-to-1 ratio because we have to overcome your deficiency. So that at end of digestion, you're at the 2-to-1. So that's, I mean, but yeah, we'll have like customers coming into the store. I mean, getting off of, certain medications and, obviously we can't say certain things like in the aisles due to Duché, but I can't stop people from giving their testimony to us. I mean, they just wanted to tell their testimony and how much it's helped them. And yeah, I think independent stores love it. I mean, the whole philosophy behind it too is like we want to get customers to come back into the store to shop. And obviously D2C and like you have to be online here and there, of course. But the main mission is to educate the independent stores, educate those people, get those brand ambassadors. That's what's really important. And then making sure that they can make a healthy margin, and then making sure that customers are coming back into the stores to buy the product. I mean, that's totally what we're focused on.
Well, I think what you're doing needs to be definitely celebrated. And I love having you as my retailer of the month for January, brand new year, 2025 for Be Alive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Leave everybody with a comment, a thought for the day from you to them. So
I mentioned this before. It's really from a book that I read. I read Principles by Ray Dalio, and there was one thing that really stood out for me, and it was the meaningful work and meaningful relationships. And that, obviously you sum it up, making money, sure, but really beyond that, the intrinsic value is you want to do something that has a mission behind it. So you want to do something that you really believe in, and that is the meaningful work part about it. And then who you do it with, the meaningful relationships. And so everything that you do in life should try to strive for those two things, meaningful work and meaningful relationships. And after I read that, I mean, that's impacted my life. It's, oriented my goals. And, that is something that I strive for, is meaningful work and meaningful relationships.
I love it. Beautiful. Once again, Micah, thanks for being here today. And thank you for doing what you're doing in the industry, for getting so involved. It's so important to have younger people in our industry that are coming in because, a lot of us are really old. And, so we need younger blood in there, passionate, younger, engaged people in the industry. And thank you for that. And thank you for getting involved in SEMTA and everything you're doing, for having the insight to be able to come out with something that you couldn't find and create it yourself. I think that's amazing. I'd love to have you back again. Would you like to come back?
100%. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, everybody. This is great. I hope if you're watching this right now, tell your friends to listen. If you own a health food store, have your employees turn in. If you have friends that are in the health food industry, have them listen. They may pick up bits and pieces of information that could be good for their customer base as well, because that's what it's all about. Remember, go to my webpage, drjeffreyburke.com, tap on the Honest Health logo. It'll take you to Spotify where you can, listen to the audio when you're on the treadmill or whatever. But you can also go to YouTube, tap on that logo as well and watch the interview. I wish everyone a wonderful day. A happy, healthy new year. Let's make it a good one. Let's do everything we can to get as healthy as we possibly can. Because bottom line, it's about getting healthy, being healthy, and staying healthy. Have a great day, everyone. God bless.
Stay tuned for more information from the Honest Health Podcast with Jeffrey Burke. And make sure to check back often for interviews and conversations from the guests we all want to hear from. I'm John the Announcer. Thanks for listening.